All right, viewers, let's take you through on what is our top debate this evening. Just about half hour before the Prime Minister addressed the nation, we heard from President Trump, where he seemed to have insinuated very clearly that it was America that brokered the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. He more so also said that he leveraged trade to do so. At the back of it, we had the Prime Minister who spoke decisively. And after that, we also had a press brief by the Ministry of External Affairs, who laid bare that it was Pakistan that actually had sought a ceasefire and not India, rather begged for a ceasefire. Well, yesterday, once again, President Trump came out and reiterated exactly what he had said 2 days ago. Once again suggesting that it was Pakistan that brokered peace and ceasefire, that it was America that brokered ceasefire between India and Pakistan, and that President Trump had used and leveraged trade to do so. He also seemed to insinuate that Pahalgam terror strikes was a small issue. At the back of that, we've had massive domestic politics where India is concerned, the opposition attacking the government and the BJP on have India's interests been compromised at the back of what at least the opposition claims is pressure from the United States of America. The fog of war has lifted. Ceasefire has been announced. India has made it clear. This is a strategic pause, not peace. Any Pakistan misadventure will be met with decisive action. India making it clear that it was Pakistan that begged for a ceasefire. An hour before the Prime Minister's address to the nation, the American President Donald Trump made a startling statement.
My greatest hope is to be a peacemaker and to be a unifier. I don't like war. Just days ago, my administration successfully brokered a historic ceasefire to stop the escalating violence between India and Pakistan.
A bold claim by the US president where he said it was America that brokered peace between two nuclear-armed neighbors, emphasizing that he used trade to broker peace. A claim he reiterated a day after on his visit to Saudi Arabia. Trump once again took credit for the ceasefire between India and Pakistan, saying he used trade as leverage to dial down tensions.
My administration successfully brokered a historic ceasefire to stop the escalating violence between India and Pakistan. And I used trade to a large extent to do it. I said, fellas, come on, let's make a deal. Let's do some trading. Let's not trade nuclear missiles. Let's trade the things that you make so beautifully.
Moreover, what could be read as a huge affront to India was President Trump seeming to insinuate that Pahalgam was a small issue. India has dismissed these assertions, reiterating that peace efforts are rooted in its own diplomatic and strategic decisions. Prime Minister Modi reinforced India's long-held position. Kashmir is not up for discussion. He stressed that India and Pakistan can only have a dialogue on terror and return of POK.
हमारी घोषित नीति रही है, अगर पाकिस्तान से बात होगी तो टेररिज्म पर ही होगी। अगर पाकिस्तान से बात होगी तो पाक ऑक्युपाइड कश्मीर POK उस पर ही होगी।
India has also firmly rejected the idea that American pressure played any role. The message from Delhi is crystal clear. India doesn't need mediation, and that it was the action of the forces that led to Pakistan pleading for ceasefire.
Be clear, it was the force of Indian arms that compelled Pakistan to stop its firing.
In the high-stakes game of diplomacy and deterrence, there is also inter-domestic politics, with the opposition now asking questions of the government. Why hasn't India given a strong rebuttal to the claims made by President Trump? Jairam Ramesh of the Congress tweeted, questioning the government if India's interests were mortgaged under US pressure.
राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप की ओर से, उपराष्ट्रपति वांस की ओर से, सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट रूबियो की ओर से जो बयान आ रहे हैं, ये हमारा क्या रवैया है, हम क्या चाहते हैं, हमारा रुख क्या है? विदेश मंत्री चुप हैं, राष्ट्रीय सलाहकार जो सुरक्षा सलाहकार हैं वो चुप हैं, प्रधानमंत्री तो अपनी चुप्पी तोड़ते ही नहीं है किसी मामलों पर.
Other parties also joined in questioning the government on why no strong offensive to America.
अब सऊदी में जाकर आपने दोहराया, फिर कश्मीर पे बोल दिया आपने, जो हमारी ऐतिहासिक समझ, हमारी जो अब तक की एग्रीमेंट्स के हिसाब से वो उसको उसके बियॉन्ड है. मेरी चिंता उस बात को लेकर के कल एमईए ने प्रतिकार किया, लेकिन ये प्रतिकार देश की सबसे बड़ी संस्था संसद की ओर से सामूहिक रूप से, पक्ष विपक्ष का फर्क नहीं, वो जाना चाहिए ताकि इनको भी ये एहसास हो, अमेरिकन प्रेसिडेंट को, यू कांट स्पीक दिस काइंड ऑफ लैंग्वेज एंड गेट अवे विद इट. ये नहीं होगा.
While domestic politics peaks, ultimately it's a tightrope diplomatic war for India. Top focus on To The Point this evening. In midst of all of this, viewers, once we have the opposition now attacking the government, led by the Congress, asking the government that were India interests compromised at what the Congress feels is third-party mediation. Well, the entire Congress doesn't quite feel it, because there is certain senior leadership of the Congress which is feeling to the contrary. And why I say that? Listen in to what now has become the Congress's Tharoor conundrum.
You've got Donald Trump, the United States president, claiming credit for the ceasefire, virtually saying that he's ready to mediate on the Kashmir issue, and importantly, drawing an equivalence between India, the victim, and Pakistan, the perpetrator. So when it comes to the world, and you know the world well, India doesn't seem to have got the kind of unequivocal support that we should have, given the fact that we were the victim and Pakistan the perpetrator. How do you see what Donald Trump has done? Has that in some way reduced the effectiveness of Operation Sindoor?
Look, I'm afraid none of us in India can be accountable for Mr. Trump's somewhat erratic behavior. All I can say is I don't believe he was properly briefed. I don't believe he understood the purport of what he was saying, because in saying what he's saying, he made four major mistakes. First, the equivalence between the victim and the perpetrator, as I pointed out. Second, he talked about mediation. India has never accepted or welcomed mediation, and I'm 100% sure that we did not seek American mediation on this matter.
So there, while the Congress was going after the government on what Congress seems to suggest is third-party mediation and India's interests compromised, one of its own senior leaders says that there has been no mediation.